I like lost my front teeth like.
How do you?
Shit. Our run. Okay.
Oh wait, yes,
yeah.
of the.
Oh, the wheelie.
I know.
Yes, shoes for vegan. Kind of smells like feet.
Oh, stop it. Birthday.
Bad, I restarted.
Oh wow.
Edith has very kindly opened up her home. She can't have like 100 people in her home.
I remember you had your room painted.
Yeah, I did.
Thank you.
No, that's like good. That's what they need.
We are at Book People in Austin, Texas. It's Kylie and Julia.
Hey.
I was like, I have to go like home. Like I have a Spurs game to go to. Like I forgot.
She was like, that one was closer.
It's like all like ooey.
When I hear coded all of this is crazy. Made it accessible.
Ooh, like this one. That is the one. Oh my lord. And now I get to try a fig for the first time, and also just pick fruit off of a tree, which is a crazy ass feeling. So yeah, I'm gonna try figs for the first time. Okay, so honestly, I don't know if they're gonna be ripe or not. I don't know how to tell because I've never eaten one, but these are bigger and a different color, so I'm kind of just assuming that they're good, but maybe they're not, and it's gonna taste kind of ass. I'm kind of scared to eat this, to be honest, because this does not particularly look appetizing, but ooh, that looks kind of gnarly. Also, picking it apart with my fingers is kind of gross, but this does not look like something I want to eat particularly, but for Ross Gay's sake. I don't know. Is it good? It's not bad. I don't know if this is ripe though. I mean, it's kind of just like sugary. I am licking my fingers though, so I guess I do like it, but yeah, for some reason figs in particular I've like wanted to try because Ross Gay wrote about figs specifically so often that after reading 3 of his books I was like, I need to eat figs. And he also talks a lot about gardening, so like the idea of doing it off a tree just got like really romanticized in my head. There's like, here, I'll flip the camera, I guess. And then it's just like covered in like white. And in the middle, there's fig stuff happening. Kind of crazy looking. Weird ass fruit. I'm gonna eat it like I would a mango and just kind of like scrape the, like all of it off the skin and see if that's good. Kind of tastes like a pomegranate mixed with like, oh geez, there's a lot of stuff going on. But I don't know. Eating the whole thing, I guess, tastes better. I don't really know how to describe it though. Okay, first fig of my life. Any fig enthusiasts, let me know if those were ripe enough. They look different from the baby little ones, I'm assuming, but anyways, they kind of have like a carrot taste too. This is the fun part where I can go spelunking and see if I run into a ripe one like this. That's so awesome. Time to eat one. Plant milk. Ugh, that actually does not, I thought it would be like sweet. Like sugar. That's not sugar. The fig is though. Nope. She is not ripe. She was not ready to be taken. Okay, I found a better one, maybe. I still can't really tell, but that one, it was like way too dry. This one is kind of like the other one where it's like kind of gross. It's like so freaking like, there's way too much give for me to be like, appetizing. But maybe this means it'll be sweeter. It's getting like all over my hands. And fuck it. I mean, that's sweeter for sure. It looks nasty. Like, this looks freaky, but anyways, eating some figs. a good way to start any morning. All right. Well, good morning to everyone else. Hope all is well. Hello. Hi, I'm Pato. I haven't made a video in a minute, but I've been not up to much, to be honest. Reading some books, although as of late, the spirit of reading has left my body, and I don't know, been going through a lot of changes, I guess. Living situation is different, friend group is different. One of my best friends moved away. Job situation is different. And then since I haven't been reading, my hobbies feel like really up in the air. I don't know, things are weird, a lot of change, and to be honest, I'm not adapting super well. And yeah, been better, been worse too. As of late, things are back on the up. Hopefully, I'm feeling more normal at least, and so I wanted to, I don't know, hop on here and tell you what I've been up to, book-wise, movie-wise, music-wise. I'm definitely gonna forget some stuff, so it'll probably be like a separate video on whatever I don't get to in this one, but I have a list of books written down, that I will talk about real quick, and then I'll just kind of put some videos up of stuff that I've done. Yeah, sorry, this is gonna be kind of rusty. It's been a minute since I've done this. So at the start of the year, like January, I've already talked about some of the books I read back then, but After Dark, I don't have them with me. In the Miso Soup, I finished The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. I liked that book. Didn't love it though. Then after coming back, I read Second Place by Rachel Cusk, my second Rachel Cusk book, and I enjoyed it less than Outline. It was still good though, I enjoyed it. There's kind of some intersection of like feminism and art critique and these like biblical allegories that tie the story together. There's like a bit of surrealism in this that caught me off guard. I enjoyed it though. It is in like a super reductive and like half remembered summary about this like artist and a muse that go to live together in like this secluded space away from the world, and kind of showcasing how they still bring with them a lot of cultural pressures and like these, I don't know, hierarchies and the division that they kind of just create for themselves despite not having to. Yeah, it was cool. Didn't super love it, wasn't blown away, but I enjoyed it. Then I read Slouching Towards Bethlehem by Joan Didion. Did not finish this. Honestly, wasn't feeling it that much. It's an essay collection. I read maybe 5 of them. They did not really have a strong like authorial voice or really any like injection of personality like I was expecting. The writing was fine, but I, especially now that I'm like further away from it, only really remember like the time and place of like this kind of Americana and like I don't know, like 50s and 60s living. Yeah, wasn't super crazy about it, and I kind of just put it down and never came back to it. Then I read The Mad and the Bad by Jean Patrick Manchette. Yeah, really forgettable book, to be honest, and looking at the bookmark, I actually didn't finish it. I had maybe like 20 pages left, but decided against it, I guess. This is like a cold-blooded caper murder. It's not really a mystery, like you know who's doing it. It's just kind of like about the spectacle and how over the top it gets. Didn't like it though, to be honest. There's another book called Fatale that also had like an NYRB release maybe a year ago, if I remember correctly. had some buzz about it and saw the name come up a lot. Yeah, can kind of skip this one, to be honest. I think I talked about this one already, but I read my second Alfred Hayes. This one was like in January. It was cool. I think I've already spoken about it, so I'll keep it brief, but kind of like this 1950s hard-boiled writer who depicts these like flawed relationships and like alcohol-tinged escapades of people who should not be together. This one is about like an extramarital affair of this girl who is kind of self-destructive, and this dude who kind of strings her along, and then falling out and kind of just lashing out out the door. Yeah, leaving with exit wounds for sure. Then I read on Kindle, I don't have it, but Penance by Eliza Clark. I did this as a buddy read with Kylie, who I actually met later, like 2 months later in person, which was really cool. But the book itself was this, I'm remembering details. It's like this true crime metafiction story about this group of teenage girls who end up committing a murder, and it's set in like the early 2010s, and a lot of it takes place on Tumblr or just on these like online forums and like the internet culture, which was so like batshit to think about. Like playing like The Sims, and that, I don't know, like there's so much like fan service, I guess, for girls who grew up in like the 2010s. Enjoyable, kind of funny, also really morbid, and it is interesting in like a meta sense of, I don't know, talking about true crime, especially current day, and it being so internet centric. There's like an immediate parallel that you are like forced to address, especially with how, like especially recently, how people are more aware of like the exploitation that takes place in covering true crime. And so this book definitely has that like elephant in the room and like builds a story around it in a clever way, where it's similar to the movie Funny Games by Michael Haneke, where there's an audience implication in this horror movie and like the violence it shows by subverting expectations, in the sense of this book will intentionally frame the narrative in a way that isn't exactly accurate, but it's more elevated, it's more engaging and entertaining, it's more disturbing. It just works better as a book during these sections that are a little bit unreliable. And so that kind of sense of outside of the book itself, you're like, what does this say about me as a reader? Like, it kind of just turns the camera towards you and is like, well, this is what you want, or isn't it? Like, you know, I don't know, it's cool. It's messy, but it's cool. Then I tried to read this book, The Castle by Franz Kafka. Didn't love it, didn't finish it either. I got maybe like 150, 140 pages in. It is so grueling and slow and like menial and labored. I'm sure that there's something of value at the end, hopefully, but I just didn't really see it as worth it. It was excruciating. Like on a page level, I would turn the page and like seeing how much there was to read like at once, I was just like, I can't do this, I can't. The premise was this guy shows up at this like hostel inn and is like awoken in the middle of the night and says that he has to leave because he's on the castle grounds, and he's like, oh, I work in the castle, so I can stay here. And he just builds up this web of lies of saying that like he belongs, and then eventually the world around him just kind of adapts to engulf him and like indoctrinate him into this weird ass city that like doesn't make sense, and like everyone is going through these bureaucratic yellow tape channels just to communicate with each other, and it just keeps expanding in scope and makes less and less sense, but yeah, the middle section just it just drags on like so crazy. And yeah, the book is about him trying to like get to the castle where like the executive orders are all coming from, and the closer he thinks he's getting, like the further away or like the less of a chance he has. So yeah, I was like, oh, I hope he gets to the castle. But I don't know. I kind of had this sinking suspicion that the castle didn't exist and that I was gonna finish the book and be really upset. So I was like, I might as well just stop reading. Then this is a book that I was reading on my trip. You're kind of out of order, but yeah, back in January, I was picking away at this and really enjoyed it. The writing was really cool. Alfred Jelinek is the author of The Piano Teacher, which is another book that was like my favorite from last year. Same sort of vibe going on where it's like stilted and uncanny and uncomfortable. It's like this super clinical and like sterile way of conveying these characters that are really twisted, and like the kind of nonchalant or like lax nature that they even exude. It's just like this really great contrast, I guess. There's a word that I forgot. Yeah, just like contrasts really well of like these like affect, like these like unaffected. Damn, I'm struggling language wise. Anyways, this is a good book. Although tonally it was just not what I wanted to read while on vacation. Like the book opens up with like this group of teenagers like mugging this old man, and just kind of goes from there. Yeah, and I was, trying to have a good Christmas, so I put it down. But put that to the side because I do want to revisit that eventually. Then I read, I don't think I have it, or if I do, it's somewhere, but Another Country by James Baldwin. It's one of the best books I've ever read, ever. So much so that I will not do it justice to try and describe it, but yeah, really beautiful, really profound and layered and intricate and intimate and inspiring and buzzword. Baldwin's crazy. This is my favorite book by him. I thought, Giovanni's Room kind of set the bar reading wise, maybe like 2 years ago. And this just kind of showed me that the bar can be raised time and time again. Yeah, crazy book. Then after that, I read this, The Passion According to G.H. by Clarice Lispector. This is the last book I finished in maybe 2 months, so it is all downhill from here, but was on a roll for a little bit, reading-wise. This is a book I'm conflicted about. Clarice Lispector, I wouldn't say that she's divisive, but she's like a Brazilian writer who is very singular, for sure. Very existential, and this book is like the most so that I've read, to the point that it was towards the end off-putting and hard to kind of feel a through line to anything that was happening. The book is about a woman who watches a cockroach die. It's the only, like, plot-wise, that's the only thing that happens, and it happens initially. The rest of the book is the internal monologue that she goes on while having this like existential crisis about what it means to die and be, and where we came from and where we'll go, and how grand and minuscule everything is at the same time. And she just kind of short circuits for like 200 pages. Towards the end, it takes a turn sort of thematically. The whole thing is like kind of stream of consciousness and like jagged or like disconnected, but it does like flow in certain directions, and the end is thematically really religious. There's like a lot of metaphor and allegory, and even like setting wise, I don't know, it completely lost me during those sections. I was like so out of it, and like it just went too far, to the point where I was just like not feeling it, didn't love it, and it went on for a while, so pretty conflicted, because the latter half I remember just losing steam for me. I also read this like in I think like 1 or 2 sittings, so that might also have something to do with it. I usually go like in way slower doses just because the writing is really dense. But anyways, first half really enjoyed it, second half did not enjoy it. I don't know if that's because of how I read it or if that's just, you know, how I would feel about the book regardless, but that's how I felt about it when I did read it. And from here, there's just a bunch of books that I've started and not finished. So The Lonely City is a book that I talked about in the last video I made. It is about like art criticism and being alone and the intersection of both through these essays about specific creators and just kind of delving into their history and how they've been kind of alienated in their own ways and how it influenced their art. It's a cool book. Like conceptually, I think it's cool. I read maybe 5, I think, yeah, I did read 5 of these essays and then kind of stopped. I got what I needed out of it. I wasn't super blown away by it. I didn't hate it. The essays are humanizing and they're cool, a lot of reference material in them, but I just read a good one, I guess, and then I didn't see the point in reading like the second half of the book, so I didn't. Although maybe there's something there that I'm missing out on and can come back to later. Don't really feel the need to at the moment. I read The Berlin Stories by Christopher Isherwood. I read Mr. Norris Changes Trains. More specifically, there's like a book he published, and then the second half is like short story collections of when he lived in Berlin. But Mr. Norris Changes Trains is just where I stopped. Enjoyed it. It has kind of similar to The Remains of the Day, the Kazuo Ishiguro book that I read at the beginning of the year, where it's like quaint kind of countryside living, although this is like more quaint city living. I say quaint because there's like a homeliness to it. The characters in the book are based on people that Christopher Isherwood met in real life while he was living there, so they are like really fleshed out and realized and zany and like all have like their own little quirks to them. So the entire book kind of feels more cozy or just humanized. Enjoyed it. It was cool. I just didn't read the second half of it. Then I wanted to read a long book for some reason, so I went to The Count of Monte Cristo, got maybe like 40 pages in. It was cool, but I just didn't keep going. And then I went to Infinite Jest. Sorry, but I got maybe 60 pages into it, and then I stopped. Not because I didn't like it, although I was off-put by certain parts of it. David Foster Wallace is an interesting character. He's kind of been like mythologized in the like intellectual sphere, but I've watched some interview clips of him and I do think he's a smart guy. Book-wise, he was taking on a lot of voices and I'm not sure that all of them worked or even should have been taken on by him, but certain parts of the story, it's kind of like an evil version of Anne Patchett. I read Commonwealth not that long ago, and this kind of had a similar energy to it, where it's like very frenetically going from character to character, like changing point of view, and they're all different in their own ways. Some of them land, some of them don't. They're all kind of uncomfortable though, or I don't know, they're weird though. One in particular I was really impressed by. Going into it, I heard that the book was about tennis and halfway houses and addiction, and so that's kind of like the sphere I was working with. The second or third chapter, I think, he talks about, it's like this dude who like locks himself in his apartment and is just trying to like overdose on weed, or that like equivalent where he's like, trying to like break his addiction by doing so much that he will now hate it forever. And being that far deep into someone's head as they're dealing with vice, that explicitly I found really perverse and engaging, and yeah, I was super like enthralled during that section. Other ones have felt really esoteric, like I could not get what he was getting at or like where it was going. I'm sure that all the stories kind of intersect eventually, but I didn't read far enough to get there. And I just don't have the attention span at the moment to, you know, read something that I still have 1,000 pages left in, so I have not gone back to it, but maybe eventually. It is a book that I want to have read at some point. Then I read a little bit of The Idiot by Elif Batuman. was enjoying this. I was impressed at how like sparse and intentional it was. It's essentially like or so far at least, it's like this depiction of college life through like really short vignettes, like super short, like interactions at like a receptionist, like waiting office type of short, where it still paints such like a full picture of the college experience through the smallest like minute details, just because they are so detailed and like hyper specific, that you kind of understand how this character functions by seeing how she interacts in these like small settings of running into a friend or being lost or doing this interview or, you know, just interacting with a roommate. It's really cool so far. I was enjoying it. The audiobook that I was reading alongside expired, so I kind of put it on the back burner, but another one that I do want to finish eventually, fingers crossed. I read 100 pages of The Three Body Problem because the Netflix show was coming out, and I knew that if I watched it I would never read it, so I was like, okay fine, I'll read it. Yeah, I read 100 pages and I was like, that's probably what one episode will be. So then I watched the first episode. Oh my god, that show is criminal. I know usually, you know, people just pick on like adaptations, but that one was actually crazy. That's not the same book. I watched like 5 minutes of it and it was laughably bad. Crazy. Then this book has been the last one I've tried for like the last month-ish to read. I was supposed to read it for the book club I'm in with some friends, and bane of my existence, more like a slight to my attention span than the book itself. I cannot get through this for more than like 2 pages at a time. Something is wrong in here. Yeah, I mean, I'm like 10 pages into this after like a month. Have not read anything else because I feel guilty knowing I'm supposed to be reading this, so I haven't started anything else. But yeah, I don't even think it's the book's fault. A lot of change has been going on, and I kind of said earlier that I'm not dealing with it well. I'm not, especially attention span wise. My screen time is getting alarming. Not that long ago, I was on a flip phone, and I think I kind of have to go back to try and salvage something in terms of free time. Yeah, there's been way too much of it. In my free time, instead of reading, since I haven't been doing that, I've been playing a lot of video games. I modded my 3DS to download like every game ever, and the sleeper pick that I did not expect was Picross. It is like a mix of Sudoku, which I had an era of not that long ago, and Minesweeper, kind of. There's like a grid, and it'll give you like numbers on the side, and you have to like logic puzzle deduce which ones are blank and which ones are filled. It's the only 2 options, and then they end up making a picture. So yeah, I've been playing this before bed. Pretty fun. I've been playing games in general, which I've not done in years, and I'm kind of enjoying it a little too much. My sleep schedule is not doing great. Anyways, book-wise, that's what I've been up to the last 5-ish months. Yeah, not a great year so far. I don't know, a lot of change, not dealing with it that well. We'll see what comes next. Anyways, that was books. Movies, music. Movies will definitely be like its own like standalone thing. I could go for another 20 minutes. Music, I don't know. Off top, I've been listening to a bunch of music. Bought a record for the first time in forever. World of Echo by Arthur Russell, one of my favorite artists ever. And this is probably my favorite album by him, so I'm stoked to own this. I think this is like the 4th Arthur Russell record that I have. That's pretty cool. I don't know, I've been listening to a bunch of music though. I will link a playlist or put something on screen maybe, or just do another video. Off top, like the last 3 days, I've been listening to the new Jessica Pratt album a lot. Really like it. I was initially really off-put by it just because like one song in, I was like, are those drums? Like, what is she doing? But it's grown on me. I like it. It's cool. and then the Chanel Beads album that I do not remember what it's called, but I'll put that somewhere maybe. Yeah, I've been listening to both of those this week. Oh, Joni Mitchell. Joni Mitchell is back on Spotify, and I listened to what is that? Court and Spark, I think it's called. Yellow album, really good. Cami, my friend Cami put me onto that, so shout out to Cami. Also, speaking of book internet friends, I met Kylie, the one I did that buddy read with, not that long ago, maybe like a month-ish ago, in Austin, and I have a video from back there, and I have a lot of videos, so I will put those on the screen now of some videos I took the last 5 months, or maybe it's at the start of the video, I don't know. Either way, this video is over. Thank you for watching it. Bye.